show love to everyone you meet. Just approaching things with love versus conflict. Approaching the way you look at things through the lens of love versus a lens of negativity, and see how your world changes. But I'm going to go back to the imposter syndrome and just recognize it for what it is, and then do what you can to crush that, to disrupt that imposter syndrome, because that is standing between you and your next level of greatness.
Welcome to When the Moment Chooses You. I am your host, Coach Charlene, and I am super excited today that I have Miss Wanda Smith with me. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you, Miss Charlene.
Yes, I am so excited. So I want to I'm going to actually read your bio now, and then I'm going to go into a little context of why I actually started the podcast, and then we're going to have our wonderful conversation. So Wanda Smith is a highly sought after speaker, coach, talk show host, and founder of Speak Her Consulting LLC. She walks alongside those who seek to become confident speakers by helping them craft a message that supports their vision and authentic voice. Wanda obtained Wanda ob- obtained her coaching certification from the UC Davis Coaching for Life and Work program in 2015 to add more to her more than 20 years as a training and learning development professional for the state of California. By developing meaningful relationships with her clients, Wanda is an expert at creating space for individuals to disrupt thought patterns, get clear, and show up and deliver their message authentically. As a result, her clients grow their business, gain visibility in their organizations, and become community leaders. Wow, that's so awesome. Wanda is enthusiastic and has a heart for seeing people thrive in every situation. As a 20-year cancer survivor, she readily shares the many stories of her journey on stage, in workshops, and on podcasts. Her talk, Becoming Miss Wanda, is one of the most viewed segments on Creative Mornings, the world's largest face to face creative community. In addition, she hosts the weekly radio talk show, Miss Wanda's Full Circle, which is dedicated to empowering Black women through conversations. You can hear Miss Wanda's Full Circle Radio on your favorite podcast platform. In 2019, Wanda was recognized as an exceptional woman of color by the SAC Cultural Hub Media Foundation. Congratulations. When not speaking or training, Wanda can be found spending time at the ocean, traveling, or training for her next. Welcome again.
Thank
Oh my
you.
God, that is so awesome. And I can't wait to unpack some of this beautiful story. So, Miss Wanda, I started this podcast in actually 2022. And it really came out of when we were going through the crisis in 2020. I call it the double pandemic. What impacted me greatly as a nurse leader, we were already dealing with COVID-19. And then we had the unfortunate murder of 3 Black unarmed men and women. And then the George Floyd one in particular did something in me so deep that I literally went into prayer. And I remember being so like broken, because I was like, man, that could be my brother, that could be my uncle.
Yeah.
I just start going there. And then in prayer, God spoke to me and he said, what you do in this moment will determine your destiny and dictate your future. And so I felt like that was a commissioning for me to finally find my voice and begin to speak up and to disrupt things that I was witnessing. And so that's what I start doing. And so then when it came around, I was like, oh man, I want to start a podcast. And I was like, wait, I don't know how to start a podcast. And then so here I am I'll be 2 years old July 5th. So I'm super excited about it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm so excited about it. So I believe that there's moments that call us into them to transform, to disrupt, to transform ourselves and even the systems or the people that we're attached to. So that's what I like to unpack on this particular podcast. So with that being said, I would love for you first to tell us who you are beyond your bio, your personal who you are, and then let's talk about some of your moments that helped you to transform and to impact those people that you're impacting today?
Oh, thank you so much. I am a daughter, a mom, an aunt, and a sister. I am a woman who loves God with all my heart and just wants to serve people, serve community. One of my biggest things is making sure that I hold space for people. I think back to when I was in the coaching program at UC Davis, and I remember being in this program and I was in such a dark place in my life.
Mm,
And in fact, recently I was just thinking, man, I wish I could do that again because now I'm in such a better place. But one of the things that helped me through were the friendships and community that I was able to garner in that class that got me through the program. Some of the people that I'm still really close friends with today. And I realized how important community was in the space of just holding space for other people. And so I kind of sought after that. And I know, you've heard the term, or you may have heard the term, create the things that you need for yourself. And so for
yes.
me, it was, how do I continue to get this community and get it in a way that I need it? Like the women that I'm connected with through the program, they're not Black women. And so while I love them to this day and we still are connected, I still needed that little extra piece, that little extra thing of women that could relate to my story, that could relate to um, the experiences that I've gone through. And so building community was something that was important for me to do. I hope that answered the question.
No, it did. No, no, that really did. And I really like how you highlighted community because you think about what we've been through and how all of us were so isolated
Hmm.
and really not in person. So to build community, that has been so powerful. So,
Yeah.
no, thank you so much. So, can you tell us, Miss Wanda, I noticed in your bio, you talked about your 20-year success of being healed from cancer.
Yeah.
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 Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Sure. That was a very interesting time in my life. I was a single mom at the time, and my son and I were super close. And at the time, he was just about to turn, I think, 9. And I'll never forget the series of events that happened that led up to it. Um, I had a nodule in my throat, but it just looked like a lump. And my primary care doctor, was like, "Oh, it's just a swollen lymph node." But I'm going to say just so happened, but I don't believe in coincidences. But I just so happened to have an endocrinologist as well,
Mm,
for another issue. And so I was telling her about it, and she was like, "Oh, I want to take a look at it. Come in, schedule an appointment. Let's do a biopsy." Well, the word biopsy completely freaked me out. Here I am, a 31-year-old single mom, and the word biopsy just freaked me out. So I didn't go. I didn't go. And she saved my life though, because she actually, and she's passed on a couple of years ago, but I always, Dr. Patricia Ostrander, she was the best. She sent me a certified letter and said, "Get in here now."
mm,
And so I was like, "All right, fine." So I went and she did the biopsy. Turned out that it was stage 2 papillary thyroid cancer. And the moment that the doctor calls and says the word cancer, my life just flashed in front of my eyes. And the only thing I could think of was, I didn't want my son to grow up without his mother.
yeah.
And it was just a heart wrenching time to go through, to have to tell my mom that her daughter, I like all of these different things that I was thinking about. How do I tell my mom? How do I tell my son? How do I tell, the other people in my life, his dad and family members and friends, because I needed community.
Yes.
I needed people to help me get through this because I don't understand. And so, had the surgery, very, very little treatment, but I did have some radiation treatment. But what that taught me in that moment was, one, to rely on community, that I needed community to help me get through this. Because when the doctor says that, and even though you're the only one going through that, there are so many things that go on in your head. you're planning, or I was planning my death. I was, even though I had a positive attitude, like I'm going to get through this, still in the back of my mind, there's a little piece in the back of my mind, like, what if you don't survive? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
And that tormented me. And having community, having someone to be able to share those thoughts with, really helped me to release those things and continue to like focus back on what were the positive things about my healing, and how to, just being positive in that situation, knowing I'm going to be healed, knowing I'm going to be fine, and just continuing to live in that more positive mindset. But it took me down some dark roads. And if I didn't have community, I don't know. I think that whole journey would have been completely different.
Yeah, wow, that's powerful. Thank you for your vulnerability and sharing that story. I kind of, if there's someone, Mrs. Wanda, out there now that really does not have community and they're kind of suffering in silence, what would you say to encourage that person right now?
I, find at least one person. I know a lot of times when people don't have community, it's for various reasons. There may be some trust issues that they've experienced growing up or sometime in their life where they had experiences where they couldn't trust people. First, I'm going to say go to God and or your higher power, because I'm not here to impose my beliefs on you, but I'm going to tell you that for me it's all about finding that relationship, cultivating that relationship with God. Because when they say he's a friend that sticks closer than a brother, like he really is that. So find a relationship with God or whatever higher power you seek. But that's really important. Finding that spiritual element and that spiritual component will be the lifeline when you don't have anyone else.
Yes.
In addition, I would say find at least one person that you can confide in. When I say community, it doesn't always mean you got to have 20 and 30 people. Community can be a small group. My circle, my personal circle is very small. And so but that's community for me. So I
Yes.
would say that find that person that you can trust and start out slow. If you have trust issues, start out slow. Maybe, build, because you have to build to trust. You don't just automatically trust people. Even that's even family members sometimes.
Yeah.
But you have to build up to it. So I would say do what you can to build up to that trust. Have honest, vulnerable conversations to say, hey, I really need someone I can confide in, and then work out what that would look like for you and that person, and really set those boundaries and ground rules so that if there is a misunderstanding or what may appear to be a violation of trust, you can work that out and determine. Because a lot of times, too, when you're coming in already hurt from betrayal of the past, the smallest things, that I'm telling you, I lived this, the smallest thing will make me go, oh, no, no, you're
Hmm.
not, I'm not, that was who I was, like, because I had so much hurt and betrayal in my past. And learning how to get through that. But yeah, the slightest thing, I'd be like, see, that's why I don't trust nobody.
Hmm.
But I had to also have to, dig deep within myself. And it took God, it took therapy, and it took really having maybe some of those bumps in the road with friends, people that I considered, that I valued their friendship and wanted to have a relationship with them. It took that, us kind of doing that, trying it on. Let's see what fits. Let's see what works. Let's see how we communicate. And every person's different.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely love what you said. Thank you for that advice. I think about one of my really, I'm honoring my coach right now. His name is Coach Al Hollingsworth, but he told me that true love, and the definition of love that he used was love is contending with another person
Mm,
for their highest good in every situation
love that.
until it becomes a manifestation. And he has said, sometimes I'm going to have to tell you the truth, Charlene. You ain't
I
going to
love
like
that.
it. And you're not going to like it. He said, I can't feed you chicken nuggets every
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
but you're going to have to get some veggies and some, kale and stuff like that. But but really it just resonated so much because when I love you, I'm going to tell you, like, if I build that relationship. That's why I
Yeah.
love what you're talking about relationships, because I too have a smaller circle, like you do, Miss Wanda, because I just I value and I treasure every heartbeat that I spend with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's only certain people that I'll allow to speak into my life.
Yeah.
And so I love that you said that. But sometimes, especially when I think about what you're doing with coaching and consulting and things like that, there's times where you do have to kind of speak the truth in love.
Right, right. And that could be difficult. It could be
That can be
difficult.
really difficult. And so I was very interested in your talk about becoming her. What is that about? I love the title of that.
Becoming Miss Wanda, yes. I was asked to speak at Creative Mornings, which was a huge honor. I love Creative Mornings. It's a huge international platform. And the theme for that, so every month they have a theme. So this theme for the month that I spoke was July of 2022, I believe. It was underdog. And
Mm,
I've always felt like I've had this underdog kind of spirit in my becoming Miss Wanda, the radio personality. And at the time, and I still am, but I was really enamored with Hamilton.
mm,
So what I did was I compared my life to the story of Hamilton, and it really it meshed very well, because I used three songs from Hamilton. One was My Shot. If you don't know Hamilton, just check it out. But it's the words are, I am not throwing away my shot.
mm.
And I used that in parallel with the fact that I was just having this budding radio career when I was diagnosed with cancer. And radio has been in my heart. Like, God placed the desire to work in radio in my heart since I was like 9 years old. And so here I am now finally working in radio, and then I get diagnosed with cancer. And so at that point, it was like, I can't throw away this shot. I got to get myself back together. I got to heal. I got to get back out there because this is what I'm destined to do. And so
Yes.
I just took a parallel between my life and Hamilton. And I actually sang, like, I am not a good singer, but I sang my little songs because that's just what I like to do. And it came out really, really well. And a lot of people were uh, the points that I made about being an underdog and the questions that you ask yourself when you find yourself in a position where you feel like you're losing, or that, things are just coming against you. What are some of those things you ask yourself, and how do you pull yourself through to get to where you want to be? And it turned out really well. I'll send you the link.
Yeah, definitely. I love it because I was one of my favorite quotes is something I found, when I was in the self-discovery mode, and it said that I think it's Paul Coelho is his name, but he said that maybe the journey isn't so much about becoming, but it's about unbecoming
I like
everything
that.
that's not like you so that you could become who you were destined to
I
be.
love that.
I know, I love it because, so many people throw these expectations up on us, unrealistic
Mm-hmm.
expectations. And so you're fighting through all of these labels that people have placed on you if you allow them to attach themselves to you. So when I saw becoming Miss Wanda, that
Mm-hmm.
means that you didn't automatically become Miss Wanda.
I had not arrived. And really, honestly, and that was in 2022, and it's kind of the journey leading up to that. But honestly, in this year, even though this year started off horrific with a terrible tragedy,
Hmm.
I still feel like I'm like really coming into who I am supposed to be.
Hmm.
That's and it took a long time to get there. But yeah, I feel like I'm just arriving.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's going to be like a 24/7 process until I'm gone.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you learn so much new stuff about
Uh-huh.
yourself every day and how you handle challenges, situations, celebrations, etc. I would love to know about your radio show. You got to tell us about that since you've been in that for so long.
Yes, yes. Full Circle just celebrated 6 years last 2 weekends ago. I am so grateful for Full Circle. Again, it is that community offering that I have. It's a platform to hold space for Black women. It's unapologetically Black.
Mm,
And it's for Black women having these conversations that we either have in small groups. It's having it on a bigger scale. And we talk about everything from mental health to education to entrepreneurship and beyond. And it started, I was working at a commercial station. I've worked at several commercial stations, but I was working at a particular station here in Sacramento, and I was the community affairs director. And so, the FCC has this requirement that, all stations have to have some kind of community service programming. And it's usually like 6 in the morning. It's like this really early. Stations just squeeze it in wherever they can. So I used to host this show, and I would just bring nonprofits on and talk about their organizations. And so when I got to where I'm at now, KDEE, I was going to do the same thing, but one night I was at, and I always give props to Angie. Her name's Angie Franklin, for Afro Yoga. I was at Afro Yoga one night, and it was a small group of us, and we were having this really intimate conversation about Black women and the masks that we wear. And I just heard the Lord say to me, like, this is what your show is supposed to be about. It's holding these kind of conversations just on a bigger platform. And Full Circle was born. And like I said, it's, 6 years in the making. We've got 17,000 plays on the podcast because I do it live in studio
Oh,
on
wow.
Saturdays, and then I upload to podcast.
Okay.
So, but it's my baby, and I'm very protective of it. I'm very protective of the message that goes out, because this is what, I feel like this is what God has given me to use to the world. And
Yes.
just like with anything else that we're blessed with or that we're entrusted with, it's like you want to be very protective so that you're using it. You're being a good steward over what he's given you. And so
Yes.
we talk a little bit about everything. It's primarily focused towards Black women, although Black men too are welcome to join the program. I always get men, they always tease me about this. Oh, Miss Wanda, I listen to your show, but I know I'm not supposed to. And I'm like, you can.
Hey, that's the good thing to do. You
you
got to
know,
listen to the wisdom that's coming out so you can know how to take care of your queen.
Right. And that's what I started saying, is that Full Circle is for Black women and the men who love them, because I get a
Yes.
lot. And I did it last summer, last August, I did a show just dedicated to featuring men. I called it the
Oh,
Men on the Move series, and it was men in the community that were doing things in the community,
oh,
that
that's
were like
wonderful.
propelling the Black agenda. So that's Full Circle. I love it. There is no place I'd rather be. When they ask you the question about your purpose, or what would you do if you had to do it for free or whatever, like,
Yeah,
what would you,
yeah.
it's Full Circle.
Yeah,
It's
that's
Full
awesome.
Circle. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to know about the name. How did that name come? I know what it means, but how did that drop in your spirit like that?
um I'm trying to think, did I think of Full Circle, or did Marvell? I think between my late general manager and I, we just got, because, well, that's what he pulled it out of me. So he was like, "Okay,
Yes.
what is this show about?" We were doing a production meeting for the show, and he's like, "What is it about?" And I was like, "It's just a look at womanhood from all aspects, like a 360-degree look." And he was like, "Okay, Full Circle." So we kind of came up with that together.
Yes, I
But that's
love
that's
it.
what it is. It's looking at womanhood in all these different areas, whether it's, maternal and infant health and postpartum and all of the things that women, Black women especially, experience. That's how the name came up.
Oh, that is wonderful. I just did a oh my God, her name is Dr. Zenia Watkins. I just did one on Black maternal health for
Mm,
my organization. And I mean, it was so profound, and just her passion for Black maternal, because that's kind of the expertise where I'm at right now. And
hmm.
that's where we're really trying to make an impact. So I'm so glad that you unpack those types of things, because people don't know that our Black mamas are dying 3 to 4 times more than white women. So
Yeah,
thank you for all of your contributions
absolutely.
to that. So tell me more about what you're doing now. What would you like our audience to know about Miss Wanda?
So I am doing speaking coaching. So when I first got my coaching certification at UC Davis, I was like, I'm going to be a life coach, because all of my friends come to me and ask me for advice, and I coach them. And that was really all that I had planned on doing. But as I started, because Full Circle started 3 years later. Yeah, Full Circle started 3 years later. And I do training, leadership training, and coaching at my 9 to 5. People started asking me, "Can you help me prepare for this interview? Can you help me? I have a speech, and I just can't stand talking in front of people. And for me, I love talking in front of an audience. Like, yes, give me a mic and a stage and I'm
Yeah, I'm
good.
good.
It's not a fear, but I can see the fear in these people's eyes. And I thought, huh, you know, it's something that comes naturally to me. Why not start coaching people in that? And truly, since I pivoted and just and started Speak Her Consulting back in 2019, it really has been just this beautiful journey to see people go from I can't you mean I have to talk in front of, oh my gosh. And it doesn't even have to be a big, I'm not trained, although I am coaching TEDx speakers for the first time, which I'll talk about in a moment, but I'm not necessarily coaching people to be on the big stage, although if that's where you want to be, I can help you there. But a lot of it is just people that I'm a business owner and I just don't know how to articulate my business. Or I have an interview, or I'm an executive and I have to present to the board. In fact, I just finished a contract with a local company that had me come in and talk and work with their executives because they had to do presentations to their board of directors, and the board of directors was like, you guys need some help. And so I was able to come in and help them with that, and that was a great experience too. But it's public speaking coaching for everyone, and I absolutely love it. And then also it's my own speaking, on platform speaking, inspirational speaking as well, and hopefully some books. I have books in my head, I just got to
I
get
was
them
gonna
out.
say, okay, Miss Wanda, that's so funny because I was gonna say, Miss Wanda, if you don't have any books, I feel you're pregnant with a few of them in there.
uh
You might have about triplets in there.
Well, I did write. So I think we have a mutual friend in Coach Shea,
Oh
correct?
yes, yes,
Yeah. So I
yes.
was in the She Believed volume 2.
Okay, yes.
And actually, the chapter that I wrote, I want to springboard that. So that chapter is called Freedom by Grace, and Grace is
Okay.
an acronym of the steps that it took me to heal from my divorce. So
Mm,
I want to kind of expand on that a little bit more, and there's a couple of other books I have in my head. It's just getting around some of the imposter factors that I face sometime in
yeah.
writing a book, or not knowing where to start and getting overwhelmed and not doing anything. See, I don't want people to think that I have it all together all the time, because I don't. And
No,
so
no. That's what I love to like bust that myth because,
yeah.
when you're like on a move and you're just moving and
Mm.
doing your thing, people think that you're perfect. But
Yeah.
man, that we are so far from perfect. I have at least six babies. I got like six tuplets
Uh-huh.
in me that have been sitting in my computer because I'm too busy to birth them.
Yeah.
And I know that I have to get them out. But I'm so glad you pointed that out. I really find it interesting because no matter who you are or how high you get, there's this inner critic that constantly tries to
Yeah.
feed your mind and combat. I was listening to what you said, that although when you got the diagnosis, you were trying to be very positive, but this
Mhm.
little voice back here is just constantly knowing, and it just reflected back because a little bit before COVID, I lost my older sister. She was only 55. And
Mm.
then
I'm
during COVID,
sorry.
I lost my baby sister, and she was 44.
Oh,
And
so
so
sorry.
from that point on, I kept hearing this voice in my head that said, "You're not going to make it to 55. You're not going to
Mm.
make it to
Mm.
55." And it was loud,
Yeah.
and I had to like totally stay in prayers, totally stay in worship, totally have the inner coach and Charlene speak to that thing that kept telling me what I was going to do. So when I was getting to 55, I was like, I
Mm.
felt a little anxiety. I would be
Mhm.
honest.
Yeah.
And but I had to keep speaking and keep declaring. And so after I got to 55, I was dancing and shouting and
Yes.
doing
Yes.
all kind of things. But that
Yeah.
inner critic in your head it can be so powerful. So I've had to really teach the inner coach Charlene to
Yeah.
combat those negative voices. So thank you for that so much. I'd like to know if there's anybody that I'm going to do 3 wisdom gems from you, but I also would like you to give people an opportunity to get in touch with you too. So maybe let's start out with Miss Wanda's top 3 nuggets or wisdom for whatever you want. It can be for their purpose, it can be for them starting a business, whatever you feel your heart is saying. Give us 3 wisdom gems.
I think you actually touched on one, and I'm glad you did. The first one is it took me a while to really get my business going because, as I mentioned, the imposter syndrome was huge. And I think a lot of us women in particular really struggle with that, no matter whether you're starting a business, whatever it is. And I think my piece of wisdom is to know that you have it in you, like to know without a shadow of a doubt. And whatever you need to do to cultivate that, whether it's building community that can uplift you, whether it is if you need to sharpen your skills, do take get continuing education, whatever it is that you need to do to crush that, do that, because that imposter syndrome is standing in the way of something that's greater, something that you were created to do. And that's the enemy's way of keeping us stuck, keeping
Yeah.
us from not doing the thing. And it can be a bear, it can be a bear, but I say find community and find people around you. I used to always see this quote: find the people that are doing the things that you do or
Hmm.
that you're trying to do. And now more than ever, I think that that's so important because there's so much happening in the world, so much negativity, and so many pretenders, people
Yes.
that are pretending to be for your good, but they're really not. So I say, kind of went into something else, but I'm going to go back to the imposter syndrome and just recognize it for what it is, and then do what you can to crush that, to disrupt
Yes.
that imposter syndrome, because that is standing between you and your next level of greatness.
Awesome.
The other thing is when you're building community, really don't be afraid to draw boundaries with people and to stand firm on your boundaries. I know I had a lot of relationships and friendships that they were just there because I've been knowing you for 10, 15, 20 years. But when I started to take a look at those friendships and see if they were serving me in a way that I needed a friend to serve me, and not necessarily do anything for me, but what are they doing? How are our interactions? And I noticed that some interactions left me drained.
Mm.
And I give myself permit. One of my free key phrases, and I'll share this with you guys, is I give myself permission to give myself grace.
Yes.
And meaning that when I'm noticing that I'm starting to shift or change, or if I'm noticing that, you know what, that relationship, that friendship is not really where I want it, desire it, need it to be, or it served its purpose,
Yeah.
recognizing those things and being okay with moving on to the next level without the same people, if that's what your heart desires. So everyone can't go with you to the next level. Some people
That's
won't
right.
understand the next level. Some people don't want to see you get to the next level. And so you have to sometimes make some of those hard decisions on friendships and relationships, and how are you going to maneuver through those. So the crushing the imposter syndrome, also drawing very clear boundaries when it comes to friendships, relationships, even business relationships, like taking a good look at those and seeing what is serving you and what's not serving you. And the third one is what I end every show with: show love to everyone you meet. And for me, that's even more important than ever. So I lost my niece in January in a car accident. She was 30 years old.
So sorry
And
to hear about that one.
thank you. And she
Yeah.
was like my daughter. Like, there's
Mm.
only three kids in the family: her twin brother, my son, and her. So it was really devastating for our family. But one of those things what I was grateful for was that I always showed her love. She always knew that I loved her. I always, even if we fought, like, we weren't perfect. Like, yeah, we had arguments and tiffs and all of those kind of things throughout the years. But at the end of the day, she knew that I loved her. And so I really, when I say show love to everyone you meet at the end of every episode of Full Circle, I really mean that. We in this world just need more love.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
so my third thing is just show love to everyone you meet, whatever that looks like for you. Just approaching things with love versus conflict.
I love that.
Approaching the way you look at things through the lens of love versus a lens of negativity, and see how your world changes.
Oh, absolutely. That's beautiful. I love that.
Thank you.
So now I know people are going to want to get in touch with you. So can you let us know how to do that?
Yes. So you can, there's so many things, family. So just, just bear with me. So you can listen to the radio show either on podcast by looking for Miss Wanda's Full Circle Radio. Or if you're anywhere, you don't have to be in Sacramento to hear it live. We have a live stream on our website, kdeefm.org. Or you can follow the show on social media, Full Circle 97.5. For Speak Her Consulting, I am building my website now. It's Ms. Wanda Speaks, but we're kind of revamping the website now. I'm available to do coaching. You can email me at it's Speak Her Consulting.
Okay.
Speak Her Consulting at gmail.com. And I'd love to work with you. I'm so excited right now that I've been asked to coach for the TEDx Folsom event. So I'm a speaker coach for that, which I'm super excited
Yay,
about.
that's awesome.
And, I feel like that's preparing me for my own TED Talk. So
Yes, it
best of
is.
both worlds. But yes, I'm excited about that. But yes, I do public speaking coaching. And, call me if you're ready, if you're really ready to do the work to disrupt those negative beliefs that we have about ourselves and about speaking in public. And call me. I'm happy to work with you.
Wow. So it has been such an honor and a treat to have you on the show. I've kind of seen a few videos or interviews that you did with like Shaya and Carla. And I was like, hey, who's this boss lady? I'm going to have to get her on the podcast. So
Well,
thank
and
you.
you have to be on Full Circle. So we'll have to talk about that because you have to be on Full Circle,
Yes,
Coach
please. I
Charlene.
would love to, but I really, really, you have just totally inspired me in so many ways. You said something that really stood out. You said when you were, you knew that you wanted to do radio when you were 9.
Yeah.
That's pretty powerful. And so I was
Yeah.
thinking about it. I remember just thinking, and this was not when I was young, but I was kind of like a teenager. I was like, I want to be on TV. I'm like, how can you be on TV? But I didn't know it was like the live videos. So when Facebook Live came out,
Mm-hmm.
that's where God was told me, I want you to start doing this. And I'm like,
Nice.
what is that? I don't need, why am I going to talk to myself on the video?
Uh,
But I'm so glad I did because it makes me so much more comfortable when I'm doing these types of things. So
yeah.
thank you for your heart. Thank you for your contributions to humanity. Thank
You're
you for
welcome.
impacting and thank you for looking out for us.
Thank you.
I really appreciate all the work that you're doing and thank you for coming on the show. I want to thank you for tuning in to another inspiring episode of When the Moment Chooses You. I'm your host, Coach Charlene, and it's been an absolute pleasure. Each journey we've shared today is a reminder that when the moment chooses you, the possibilities are endless.